Hi, and welcome to Soul Wise with Jena. Today we are talking about rooted in radiance and how we can utilize somatic practices to help us ground into our radiant self. So, first, let me just say that there are so many times we hear people say to just shine bright, right? And it sounds good, but it's not good if it's under the guise of faking it to making it or wearing a mask, because that doesn't feel good and it certainly does not feel aligned. So today we're going to talk about what it means to actually create radiance from within so that you can radiate and shine, because that is the embodiment behind it. That is what you're meant to do, not fake it. We want soul alignment. And if you've been with me for a while, you know that's what I'm all about. So hi, hello, welcome. I am excited to get into this talk. I am excited to explain to you the aspect of the nervous system and how that plays a part in this. And by the end of this, you'll understand how your nervous system affects your energy, and you'll experience a somatic practice that you can do to reconnect to your radiant self so that you are able to actually embody what it is that we're talking about. Because I want you to show up and shine in this world, because you were made to be you and no one else. So we want you, the real you, the whole you, the you that is anchoring this light inside of you, that is your unique light to shine. So let's get to it, shall we? All right. First, I want to talk a little bit about the science aspect, the somatic aspect. So I'm sure you've heard about the vagus nerve by now. That should not be a big secret. If you haven't, I don't know what to tell you, but there's so much talk around the vagus nerve. And the reason for that is because the vagus nerve, or cranial nerve 10, is the one that is connected most closely to our ability to activate that parasympathetic response. So what does that mean? That is the nerve that is responsible for our ability to regulate our emotions, to come down from being an activated, anxious state and into a regulated, calm state. So there's different stages of the vagus nerve, right, that we talk about in the world of somatics. And we're going to talk about ventral vagal and dorsal vagal. So dorsal vagal is the shutdown, right? That is when we close off, we shut down, we cocoon ourselves, we contract, we close up, we become immobilized, right? This could look like, depression, right? Think about depression when you have that heavy depressive energy and like you don't want to get out of bed, you don't feel like doing anything, you have no motivation at all, you don't want to move, you don't even want to do like your daily activities of life, right? It's just very heavy and very immobilizing. It really doesn't allow you that extra oomph of motivation. It's gone. And that is that dorsal vagal shutdown. That is when your body has dropped beyond that parasympathetic state of rest and digest and down into that shutdown state where it's like the extreme of that. So it's beyond helpful rest. It is in the extreme of unhelpful rest. It is that hard place. And I know I'm laughing and making a little light of this because I don't want this to be a heavy video. That's not what this is intended for. I do have those, of course, but this is more about understanding that state. But I do want to say, if you're someone that deals with that dorsal vagal shutdown quite frequently and you feel that heaviness of depression, these practices today might be really difficult for you. And it's totally understandable because they're not meant for those in that dorsal vagal shutdown state. So just know that there are other specific practices that help with that, and we won't be covering that in today's video. And just know that I understand, because I have experienced those types of shutdowns myself, and I understand how hard it is to be in that space. So with that, I want to move on to discussing the ventral vagal state, which is what we're focusing on today, because that is the place where we center, where we feel centered, where we feel aligned, we're connected, and we're glowing and we're radiating. So ventral vagal is that space of social engagement, as it's called. Dr. Stephen Porges was the one that created or developed the theory, the polyvagal theory, that this comes from. And he often refers to ventral vagal as the social engagement state, because that social engagement means that you're feeling safe enough that you can make eye contact, that you are reading social cues, that you are interpreting body language in the background of how your nervous system works, right? Your nervous system is receiving all of the sensory information and interpreting it, and you are still able to stay in that social engagement type of space where you can talk, you can connect, you can feel, sense, react in all of the appropriate ways in that moment. And that is a place of centeredness. That is a place where you are feeling aligned and connected, not just to yourself, but to those around you, right? So that's that feel-good zone that we get to be in. And so today's practice helps us to be in that space. And today's practice can help if you are feeling a little bit more activated, if you're in more that anxiety, anxiousness kind of energy, that activated state. So if you are feeling that, this practice can be beneficial for you. Now, there's a few more things that I want to talk about before we get into the practice. I already mentioned about, it's not about wearing a mask. It's not about, looking like you're all put together on the outside while still feeling overwhelmed inside. We don't want to do that. That's bypassing, and that's not what we're here for. That's not what this practice is about. This practice is about allowing you a moment to recalibrate to a specific emotion that you are wanting to choose to embody. So if you are feeling off, right? How many times do you just wake up and you're just having an off day? It happens to all of us, right? So if that's you, heck, if it's happening to you today, go ahead and raise your hand down below. But like that feeling of being off, it's super frustrating, isn't it? And then it's like the whole day just feels off. You just don't feel right. You don't feel aligned. Nothing quite goes right. And you just wish you could shake it off. So this is a great practice to help you come into an emotional feeling that you want to embody, that you're choosing to embody. And there's nothing wrong with choosing the emotional state you want to be in. In fact, that's a practice that I recommend that you do every morning as a morning check-in for yourself when you first wake up. Because when you set the tone for your day, it changes the rest of your day. And if that's a new idea for you, let me just sidetrack a little bit here to plant that seed a little bit deeper. Your morning practice should be your moment of check-in for yourself to set the tone for the day. If you're not setting the tone for the day and you're just waking up and going about your day, then you're missing out prime opportunity to really reset yourself and allow yourself to shift whatever you might be waking up in, or that continuation of stuff, right? How many times have you gone to bed and you're like super stressed about the things you have to do, and you wake up and that stress is already like still right there waiting for you, and you start the day carrying that same load of stress. And now as you're facing new stressors of this new day, it's piling on to the old stress you just carried with you. Yeah, that's not fun. Um, and there's a way to not do that. So I'm going to share this with you because I think it's super helpful. I know it's been really helpful for me, and it's been helpful with a lot of women that I have helped with the same issue. So if that's you, you're going to want to follow this practice of embodiment, because it is a tool that you can use in the morning to set your tone for the day, to really calibrate to an intention for what you want to move forward with in the day. And it helps you throughout the day to come back to that place of being. And it isn't some mindset work that, makes you mask what you're really feeling inside. It's a practice that helps you come into embodying what it is you are wanting to feel. So in this work, we are we are really taking a moment to look at, what is the state that you're currently feeling? Like, what are you noticing within yourself right now? And sometimes our reactions are absolutely valid, right? I'm not here to say you're not supposed to have an emotional reaction. I'm sorry. I won't do that because we are absolutely meant to have an emotional reaction. We're not to stay at one emotion throughout the day. We're not robots. We're human. We are meant to have ups and downs. We are meant to flow. Our nervous system state is meant to flow. We are meant to be activated and regulated on a regular basis, right? That is part of building our resiliency in our nervous system is our ability to feel into these different emotional states and these different nervous system states that are running in the background of our body. So, this is a practice that says, hey, I'm feeling like this and don't really want to feel like this right now. How can I help myself in this moment? Maybe the feeling is starting to feel too much. If you're someone that knows, like you start getting those cues, those little clues that like, oh, I know when I start feeling like this, overwhelm is coming. Like I'm about to be really overwhelmed and that's going to make me shut down. In those moments, having the ability to recognize those moments and come into this practice, game changer for you. So this practice is one of the foundational practices I like to teach for that reason, because it can help in so many different ways. And it gives you a tool that is easily accessible to most people. We're just working with your breath, with your intention, and with an emotional feeling. That's it. Nothing outside of you. It's everything that you carry with you already. So let's move into the practice, shall we? Take a moment to get comfortable, and I'm going to guide you through this practice. So this technique is a technique I learned from the Heart Math Institute. I am a clinical heart math practitioner. And I love to teach this coherence breathing to my students, to my clients, to anyone that will listen, because it is so amazing as a practice. So we're going to focus our intention on what we're doing, right? So we are intending to do a little bit of breath work to reset our emotional state. We're going to connect to our heart through our breath. And then we're going to add an emotional feeling to that. So for the ease of this video, I'm going to set that emotional feeling to the feeling of peace. I find that peace resonates with a lot of people. And I know sometimes it's really hard to even know what emotion you want to feel, let alone decode what emotion you're currently feeling. And you're definitely not alone. So many of us struggle with that ability to put our emotions into words, and there's reasons for that too. So I just want to take all the guesswork away, and I want to give you a tool that you can use that will work almost anytime. And aligning to peace is a feeling, is an emotional embodiment that helps in almost any given situation. So first, I want you to start thinking about how you would connect to that emotion of peace. Perhaps it's a person that is like your safe person, that person that just can hold such a great space for you, and they offer such unconditional love. They don't judge you. They just let you vent. You feel so super safe and loved in their presence. And perhaps it's connecting to, that relationship with that person that brings you that sense of peace. Perhaps it's a color. I think blue is the primary color associated with that energy of peace. I know for me personally, I didn't like the color blue for a very long time. Like I hated blue. Any shade of blue, I just thought was terrible. I would choose the color brown over blue any day. But then I started working with this embodying peace energy, and I started to love the color blue. And I was like, oh, maybe there is more to that color theory connection than I thought. And perhaps those colors we don't like hold a message for things that we need, right? So bringing in a color to you that connects to that energy of peace. So even though blue, I think, is more recognized as a color of peace, I often use this color of peach. This is a peach selenite that I have. I love peach selenite because it is also very calming, but um, peach to me just embodies that energy of peace too. So, um, whatever color draws to you. When I think of peace, I often think of the beach, right? So I am a huge beach lover. I love spending time at the beach. I love that I get to live here at the beach. So I often will think of, that beautiful orange sunset with the beach backdrop, so it's got the blue water and I've got the environment, the salty air and just, feeling how that feels to me. It's so, so beautiful, such a beautiful feeling. And so that brings me to the other thing, a place. Is there a place that brings you a deep sense of peace? For me, it's the beach. Connecting at the beach, I feel connected to all of the elements. I love being out in the open that the beach provides, where it's like, it's just wide open. Me and the sky, like that to me feels so expansive and so connected. And I feel so peaceful in those moments. So I connect the beach with that feeling of peace. Perhaps you connect, being in the woods or sitting under a tree or, being on a cliff, whatever that is for you. Maybe you think of a time in childhood of swinging on the swings, anything. It is completely up to you. It is your individual practice. So take a moment to figure out what that is for you, how you can connect to that feeling of peace, and we're going to use that in the practice. So now that we're done with the intellectual part of it, we're going to get into the embodiment practice part of it. So get comfortable in your seat and allow yourself to kind of make whatever adjustments you need to make. I like to sway a lot. You see me doing this quite often. I talk and I sway because to me that's so relaxing. And it helps me to like ground and relax a little bit more. So get comfortable in your seat. Maybe roll the shoulders down, especially if you tend to carry a lot of stress in your shoulders. You're getting yourself prepared, and that is good. And then we're going to place our hands on our heart so that we have that heart connection to help us bring our focus and our awareness to the heart space. And allow yourself to close your eyes. Let this be an internal process for you. So close the eyes and just follow the breath inwards. And we want to begin to slow the breath, inhaling to a count of 5 and exhaling to 5. Inhaling and exhaling. And as you inhale, allowing the inhale to deepen into the belly, and exhale. And as you inhale into the belly, feel not just the belly expand, but the heart expand, and exhale. Following that rhythmic flow of inhaling to 5 and exhaling to 5. And bringing your awareness to the heart space, begin to feel the breath through the heart, as if you're breathing in and out of the heart. And now begin to cultivate that feeling of peace. Whatever visualization you use to connect to that feeling of peace to help you connect to that emotional state of peace. Allow yourself to begin to visualize it now as you continue this rhythmic breath. Take yourself to that space that brings you peace, or allow yourself to be surrounded in that color that brings you peace. Or imagine talking to that person that brings you peace, just being in their presence. Allowing yourself to begin to embody that feeling of peace, breathing peace in and out of the heart space. Still following that rhythmic breath. Just a little longer. Now begin to flutter your eyes open, continuing that rhythmic breath. Continuing to embody that feeling of peace and feeling it radiating from within with each breath rippling outwards. Allowing that feeling of peace to wash over you, mind, body, and spirit. Perhaps releasing the hands now and allowing yourself to just be present in the space. Recognizing that it is safe to feel this energy of peace, that it is safe to radiate this feeling of peace. It is safe to shine in this feeling of peace. And just allow yourself in this moment to notice what shifted for you. Did you feel that moment of embodiment kind of come on board where you began to feel like, oh, I am starting to feel different. I can embody this feeling of peace, even though I wasn't feeling that when I started. Right? So what did you notice in that practice? Take a moment to allow for the brain to get on board with understanding the shift that is happening. Our brain naturally is wired to want to compare and contrast things. And when we allow space for the brain to notice what has changed, it helps to integrate that shift a little more. And I want you to notice what that radiance feels like in your body when you are tuned into that emotional state, when you are focused with your intention and breathing that feeling and allowing it to ripple out. How does that feel for you? What do you notice in your body? What do you notice around you? What do you notice within you? Does that feel easy for you, or is that a little more difficult for you? We're not judging, we're not criticizing ourselves, we're just holding the space to witness the process. This is all just information that we're receiving about ourselves in the practice. Did you notice? Maybe it was a little hard to deepen the breath into the belly. I noticed that it felt a little stuck for me. So that was a welcome practice for myself too. I am actually filming this after lunchtime. So that helped me to reground myself into this feeling of peace. Right. So just noticing the shifts. Like I feel like my breath feels freer right now. I feel calmer. I feel more peaceful. I feel ready to just face whatever the day holds. Like I'm not holding on to anything. I'm just present. And that's a powerful place to be because that opens up your capacity to handle things. So when stressful things happen, you have that sense of peace that you are responding from versus, maybe responding from a level that's already up here because you're carrying yesterday and last week's stress with you into today, right? So this is why this practice as a morning practice can be so powerful because it gives you that moment of reset for your nervous system so that you're starting the day at full capacity of being able to just be open and be present. And it allows that ability to just respond from a place that's a little more centered and grounded. So, allowing yourself to notice the changes and the shifts that happened with you, I would love to know how that felt for you. I want to know if this practice is something that you think you want to do every day. Like drop a star in the comments if like you think this practice is going to change some things for you because I know that it will. Sometimes with the simplicity of some of these practices, it can be easy to shrug it off or ignore it or not do it. But if you do this practice every day for a week, I promise you are going to feel a shift. You are going to notice a difference in the way you move through the day. And each morning that you practice this and you center to this, the easier it becomes to come back to that place of peace. And so this practice is not something that is reserved for just a one-time practice in the morning or whenever you do this throughout the day. This is a practice you can return to as often as you want throughout the day, right? Just focus that intention, recognize the emotion that you want to connect to, and do that heart coherence breathing and allow yourself to radiate it from within. Because your light doesn't come from anything outside of you, it comes from within. It rises from within when your body feels safe, when it feels held, when it feels connected, and when you are actually turning inwards to allow for that felt sense of safety to come on board. And you did that without me spelling it out for you because in the moment when you are connecting hands to heart, you're providing a sensory touch experience for your body that is calming. Whenever we hold our chest, it brings a calming sensation to the nervous system. In the deepening of the breath, breathing into the belly, we are sending another signal to the nervous system. We're in a safe space and that we are safe. And then in the rhythmic breathing, we are actually changing our heart rate variability, which allows us to regulate our nervous system. So there's all of these other little nuanced things that are happening within the practice that's there that I didn't even verbalize, but you got to just experience. Then there's even another thing, and that is the heart-mind connection, and the heart-brain connection, right? Like that connection is very real. And so our heart is the area that is responsible for generating that emotional feeling. And so we can actually tune into the heart and generate an emotional feeling that we want to feel. And when we get that on board and we allow the opportunity for the brain to then understand, oh, this is what we're feeling, let me start changing the chemicals that I am releasing. through the regulation of our glands and help this feeling along, right? And so we tend to feel really good. We tend to step into that feeling aspect of the emotion because our brain starts to align with our heart, and that is the coherence. The coherence is that heart-brain connection. So there's all of these other nuances happening within that practice. So even though it seems super simplistic on the outside, it is actually pretty complex, just like you and me. So do this practice every day for at least a week. At least make the commitment for that, to try it, to see how it works for you. And throughout the day, come back to the word that you choose. Today we worked with peace because I think peace is a good one for everybody. But you might have a word that feels more resonant for you. And implement that. Let it be your practice. You don't need my permission for that. Tune into what feels right for you and do it every day for a week. Just notice the changes throughout the day. If you feel off, if you feel like, you know, maybe you got some bad news, or maybe you're getting overly stressed over some things you have to get done, set your timer for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. That is it. That is all you need to create the shift. And just do it. I'd love to hear from you how this practice was for you. And if this resonated, you can always work with me more. I have a plethora of different practices and tools to use. If you're not part of our Soulwise community on Facebook, definitely go look that up and join us over there. I dive into even more practices and things in our group. It's a free community group, so you can go look it up. It's Soulwise with Jena. Jena's with one N. And if you want to work with me privately, I do offer in-person and distant sessions. So just feel free to send me a message and I will coordinate with you what would work best for you. So thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, you're welcome to like and subscribe the video, and stay tuned for the next one because we're going to take this grounding even more, and I'm going to share with you the tools and practices to really ground and why grounding is the primary foundation of radiating. I'll see you next time. Bye.